Mike, what about yourself? Obviously, as a renowned actor and you've been involved in the in television and writing and production. And do you define yourself as an actor who's an activist, or are you an activist, or are you exercising leadership or just simple social responsibility? How do you define yourself?
I like the last part, social responsibility. Leadership, I'm not comfortable with the notion of leadership particularly.
Because?
Because it implies a couple of things that I think are fundamentally false. We have many examples of leadership in our society today, all of which are leading people in the wrong direction, in my view. So, little old Mike Farrell, coming up from a kid from a lower middle class family, just all I wanted to do was be a good boy and succeed, and the idea of leadership was one that one never took on, because it was self-puffery. So, having said that, I've been extraordinarily lucky in my profession to have achieved a certain amount of success in a highly competitive business, and the result of that has been notoriety. Well, then you have a choice as to what you do with the notoriety. I can help tell people what cars to drive, or I can, I can suggest through my behavior that certain sort of life pursuits are better than others, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that leading by example, if one leads, leading by example is really what it's about. I think that's what Mamie's talking about here. What we're all about is being recognized, I suppose, as worthwhile. And the notion of living up to one's potential is the implication of what's offered in our society. Unfortunately, society then offers that, suggests it, and then doesn't allow it. It sort of puts limits on people and gives contrary messages, and ultimately suggests that really what you want to do is get a lot of money. And if you get a lot of money and you're hollow, that's fine, according to our
It's even
society.
better.
Yeah. It doesn't bring all those social requirements along with it, yeah.
Well, in the world of Hollywood, there's a lot of people who get a lot of money and they're pretty hollow.
Oh, indeed. But that's not exclusively Hollywood. That's true in Washington as well.
Yeah,
And,
it's true. I guess it's true.
And maybe
True.
even in Cambridge.
Oh, God knows. Here too. Yeah. Okay.
But the idea, it seems to me, that is most exciting and probably revolutionary in a way, is finding a way to demonstrate to people that one, there is reason to live up to one's potential, and two, that one's potential can't be defined by someone else.
Yeah.
That what one has to do is sort of reach, expand, explore, take some risks. And if, it's a little embarrassing, frankly, to be in this situation, to be identified as a leader or an activist or this or that. For me, I'm just trying to get by. But it seems to me there's a difference between getting by and getting by in a way that is fulfilling to me and also, thank you, has some impact on some people around me.
Yeah. The primary issues that you're attending to, addressing, working, are what? I know you've been involved with the death penalty, right?
Involved against the death.
Against, not for the death penalty, I understand that, against the death penalty for many years.
Yes, right.
And other issues with Human Rights Watch and what have you.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it's really about the fundamental value and dignity of individual human beings. That's got to be at base what I recognize and what I demand of myself, and certainly expect of other people. And we live in a society, we find out, that doesn't exalt that fundamental value and dignity. And in fact, it demeans it. So what you do, if it seems to me, if you believe in certain basic principles, then you find a way to live in accord with them. And if that, as Mamie was suggesting, if that resonates with people, they come around and they say, what is it you're doing? How come what you're doing works and what we're doing doesn't? How come we've got, Ronald Reagan some years ago said everybody in America wants to be a millionaire. I frankly found that insulting. I thought, I know a lot of people that don't give a damn about being millionaires. They give a damn about being healthy, dedicated parents and hardworking people who understand the value of work and understand the value of social interaction. And the millions of dollars doesn't bring that to them, and most of them know that. But unfortunately, his definition seems to have carried the day in the way Americans define themselves. The pursuit of the dollar is primary in the mind's eye of many people, and I find that's fine. I mean, if people want to get wealthy, that's fine. I don't have any objection to that, but that can't be the ultimate human goal.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about the notoriety, as you said, of being in the public eye and being an actor. Does that work for you or against you in calling attention to these issues, be it working against the death penalty or other human rights issues? Because in society, from what I can gather, many people want their actors to be kind of neutral, and so that everybody from any spectrum of society can love them and appreciate them. But the moment you take a stand on something, immediately someone will say, well, heck, how in the world could he have that point of view?
Right. That's true, but in society people want their women to be a certain way, and people want their carpenters to be a certain way, and they want their teachers to be a certain way.
Yeah.
So society wants to lay on and suggest limits because that's something that makes them comfortable. But if we allow everybody to be comfortable, what that means is they sort of sit back in too many instances and do nothing. Being notorious, being having some, we call it celebrity, we call it fame, we call it whatever it is that's attendant to having a certain degree of success in my business, cuts both ways. It's a positive and it's a negative.
Yeah.
First of all, there are these socially imposed expectations that actors, successful actors, are supposed to live down to in most instances. But it also provides opportunity. It provides opportunity to see things, go places, do things, and quite often people point cameras and stick microphones in your face. And if you have any life experience and you're willing to, based on that experience, offer some thought, some reflection on what you might have seen or done or a place you've been. In my case, I was lucky enough to early on find an organization not unlike Delancey Street that helped me kind of set my sails in a certain direction, and gave me the opportunity to go into prisons and gave me the opportunity to go places and see things that otherwise I might not have had, and it helped me chart my course, if you will, so that when I did achieve a certain amount of success and people did point cameras and microphones and said, what do you think about this, that, or the other thing, I told them, and it surprised them because it was not about, I think, what they expected it to be about.
Right.
To follow up on that, what Mimi said about the myth of doing good creates good.
Yeah.
That's something we all learn. What the word is left out is people assume it's automatic. That if you just do good, then everything's going to be fine. And then people get frustrated and say, well, Jesus, it's not fine. I did good and it's not fine, so I'm going home.
Yeah.
In fact, doing good is a good thing, and it's fulfilling. And if you keep doing it, even if it's invisible, it does create good. It creates a positive reaction out there. But we have a social order that argues against that because it's dangerous to many people. Some of the things that are being said here are revolutionary, and that's socially revolutionary, and that's uncomfortable for a lot of people. And I just, in response to your question, of course you get down, of course you get worn, you get tired, you get frustrated, you get just pissed off, because things aren't going the way, God damn it, they're supposed to go. But, I know where I came from, and I know where I want to go, and it has to do with how I feel about myself and how I feel about myself in the world. And how I feel about myself in the world is defined in significant part by what I'm up against in terms of other people. And it never fails doesn't matter if it's death row or a refugee camp or some hovel in some part of the United States or some other country, that you find you come up against another person who inspires. For me, it's the juice that continues to invigorate my energy. The people, the beauty of people, the power of people, the possibility of people, that there's some sort of ineffable quality that is, for me, pure energy. It just says, yes, thank you, let's go. And so you go.
And Mike, listening to Mimi, actually, the question that strikes me all the time is that what Mimi does, so at least she works with the community that has a chance, because these are people who used to be on the other side, but they are getting a chance to come back. And I think your parallel with Raising a Child is really great one. But in what you've been doing, so fighting against death penalty, unfortunately in this country the best what you can get is just a trade-off. So if they're not in the death row, in the best case they will get the life sentence. So some of them, like, what is your, because Dean asked Mimi what her mission was, we didn't ask you what your mission was. And I think question I would like to ask is actually, what do you see as your aim or your goal or your purpose, like fighting against death penalty? I'm quite sure not only like just like taking people out of the death row, but also giving them some quality of life. And how do you keep going, and what do you do?
Well, first of all, the death penalty is only a symbol of the worst in our society, and that's the life-denying piece. It seems to me that our choices in life are either to be life-affirming or life-denying. If we're going to be part of a system that continues to say there are dispensable human beings and they're measured by this, that, or the other statistic, and once they meet those standards we can do away with them, that is an insult to all of us. And it's also a threat to all of us, because all of us are capable of terrible things, terrible actions, terrible views, terrible statements, terrible thoughts. So the death penalty is only an incredibly ugly, egregious little blot on our social, on our soul, on our national soul, in my view. And but it's not just about that. Sure, it's about helping people get to the place where they understand that there is a whole lot better opportunity. It's very selfish on my part. I want to be safe. I want to be happy. I want to be fulfilled. And I want my kids to be raised in a society that allows them to be safe and happy and fulfilled. And it seems to me the way you do that is not to separate people out and put them over there and lock them up or kill them or put them in a category that makes them untouchable. It's creating a world in which all of us can be safe and all of us can understand that we have an extraordinarily undefinable human potential toward which we can strive. And then the issue becomes, how much energy do you want to put into striving toward reaching the ultimate possibility that your potential provides? Some people are going to say, well, I'll go halfway. Some people saying, shit, I'm not trying at all. And some people will say, Jesus, that's pretty exciting stuff. And why don't I just sort of dig in and see what's out there? And the more you find people willing to do that, then it seems to me the safer we all are, the happier we all are, the more fulfilled we all are. So ultimately, it's not in any way altruistic. It's personally very satisfying.
Does being strategic, Mike, make sense for you? How do you think about the allocation of your time and what your priorities are, and how do I mobilize interest on these issues?
Sure. Strategic. It's strategic when you sit across the table from a governor who has the power in his or her hands to kill or not kill. Yeah. It's strategic to make the decision to not say, listen, asshole, stop doing what you're doing. The strategic choice is to say, Your Honor, or Your Excellency, or Sir or Ma'am.
Which one do you say, by the way?
Well, it depends on.
Okay.
Depends on the circumstance. No, obviously we're all, I think, wise. Well, not all, but most of us are wise enough to be strategic, at least at some times. So you make choices. You make choices in each instance, in each circumstance. You make choices about how you reach out, not so much to whom you reach out, but how you reach out.
Yeah.
You know, you don't go into the executive council of some organization and thumb your nose at them necessarily. Maybe sometimes you do, but you learn to, in my experience at any rate, you learn to present it in a way that allows you in the door, allows them to open themselves to you to whatever degree, and then you put the word out, you put the message out. And in my experience, it's amazingly, people are amazingly vulnerable to honesty, simplicity, straightforward request. You know, one of the things I learned years ago was learning to ask for what you want. It seems to me that if you game and cheat and try and trick, you usually end up you only get part of what you want. If you ask for what you want, whatever it is, you then you imply a certain respect between people. They can say no, you can't have it.
Yeah.
You can go on to your next opportunity, or they can give you what you want.
Yeah. Is there ever a sense that I'm not getting through? This is
sure.
uphill all the way.
Sure.
Should I even be doing this?
No, that the issue, I think, what Mimi was just saying, is the issue is not what impels you. I mean, you either believe or you don't. What works for me and what has worked for any number of people with whom I've been associated seems to me to be the proper way. So if I can find a way then to articulate it, to demonstrate something, to set an example, to do however I can do it in a manner that reaches out and opens something in that other person, fabulous. Then there's success. And if it doesn't, then you just have to find another way to reach out and try and open it. It's not about being going home and sulking and, well, maybe I'll go home and sulk for a little while, but it's not about saying, oh my God, I was wrong, I have to go back to reevaluate my premises. It's about, okay, well, that didn't work. What do I have to do now to get beyond the fear that is really what's separating us? Keep trying.
You see, when you go against the tide, what you're calling failure, we accept as a given.
Yeah.
Failure is a given.
Comes with the territory.
It comes with the territory. That's already what you expect.
Yeah.
Now what you're trying to do is undo that expectation and find an opening. And then you get excited with every opening. You assume a closed door.
Right. Yeah, very good. Yeah. We've got some of your other guests here, and I appreciated you jumping in before. Has anyone got anything to add about Mike or Mimi in regards to your experience in working with them or doing the work that you do?
Well, yeah. Well, I've been in Delancey Street a long time, and I first came to Delancey Street. I've been in prison all my life, basically adult life, and on the streets most, like 6 months from the time I was 21 until the time I was 31. So I didn't really know how to do anything, and a lot of the things that they say about having an opportunity, having a chance, I had some, but the ones that I had I didn't use, and I didn't know how to do anything with the opportunities I had because I never learned anything. So coming into Delancey Street, it was like going into a whole new world. I had no idea what responsibility meant. Being nice didn't even exist in my world. So I had to learn all those things along with getting an education, along with how to tie a tie, along with just the basic things that, I guess a lot of people learn from the time they're like 12. I had to do at a really old age. So it was kind of like being a kid and growing up again. But it's really, it's good because now I get a chance to teach people how to tie a tie and how to be decent and how to be nice.
What's the inspiration? What was the inspiration for you? How come you stuck with it and just didn't give it away?
Prison was the inspiration, to be honest with you. It's not like I came to Delancey Street because I wanted to change and do anything different. I was facing a prison sentence of 20 years, so I had a choice between going to Delancey Street for 2 years and going to prison for 20 years. So,
But something happened at Delancey Street where you said,
yeah, the first thing I kind of learned was that I needed to change, because I didn't think at first I needed to change. I thought everybody else was a problem. Then I learned after a while, because Delancey Street puts you in a position where you do like little things. You're on maintenance and you sweep, mop, and clean, and you wake up and you go to work every morning and you get that kind of like under your belt. So I figured out that I could change and that I needed to change. And it took a long time. It's a really long process. Because it just,
What's the difference between how you feel about yourself now and how you felt about yourself then?
well, I was really nasty and really mean and really negative, and now I'm, actually nice. I mean, I feel like I have a future. I feel like I can do things differently. I feel like there are things in life that I can accomplish that don't necessarily revolve around me. I can help people, and I can do things that, advance people besides myself. I don't have to look after, because the only thing I did before I came to Delancey Street was look after my own best interest. And
So if I could put a word on what you just said, it's hope.
yeah, that's a good word. Absolutely. I learned how to hope, because I was pretty hopeless. Absolutely.
Gerald said something that I think is really important, because I didn't know it. I didn't understand it from school. I only understood it from thousands of Geralds. I used to think somebody had to have hope in order to change. And I've learned that it's often backwards. If you live in despair, you don't really know what hope is, and so you don't have hope. You have to succeed first. And because you succeed, you begin to say, oh, then I can be there. And that's what hope is. It only comes after you've had some success.
right, yeah.
And so again, action versus inner.
Yeah.
The actions come first. They're little successes, but they're successes. And begin to hope for more,
Yeah.
because it becomes possible.
Right.
I didn't know that, and I don't know that people who have hope or see possibilities in life, I don't know that we know that about the people who see no possibilities.
Yeah.
That's when I was saying, you try and reach out, you try and turn a key. If there's an experience with Gerald or somebody else and maybe it's, oh shit, what is that I'm feeling? What is that? And then there's somebody around to say, well, that's hope, man. That's what gives you the opportunity to think that maybe there's something out there that is even better.
We're going to have to wrap up in just a few minutes. So I want to ask you both this. Here at the Kennedy School of Government, we teach a variety of things. One of the things that we claim to teach is leadership. Well, we have a lot of aspiring leaders, people who want to be leaders, who want to be in these positions of authority and responsibility in the world, and to what degree they will make a difference is, we shall see. Given what we've been talking about here, certainly I can extract a number of just beautiful and insightful lessons. But what would you both say that aspiring leaders, or at least people aspiring to contribute in the realm of the public arena in a variety of ways, from elected positions or appointed or in non-profit organizations or as activists, what do we as teachers really need to be focusing on, and what is it the students really need to be learning?
I think I would suggest that you tell everyone who comes here with the stated intention of becoming a leader to distrust all of the reasons they claim to want to be a leader.
That's what he does.
He
all
does
the
that
time.
pretty
So
well,
that's
yeah.
how we started our leadership class.
To analogize, there are many psychiatrists and psychologists who went into psychiatry and psychology because they know they have deep-seated problems and didn't want to face them and figured if they got the information they could deal with them themselves rather than admitting to somebody that they had these problems. So what Mimi's talking about is that motivating impulse that says, I care about people. If you don't care about people, don't be a leader. If you don't care about people, there is no place for you in leadership. We have far too many people in leadership today who don't give a damn about anything but self-advancement. But that place where that says, I care, is what has to be nurtured. And that's, you can learn all the strategies here, but that's what has to be developed. And the way you develop it, it seems to me, is get down in the struggle. Get down with the folks you claim to want to lead and get to know what moves them, what prevents them from doing the things that need to be done, and figure out ways to inspire them and allow them to inspire you. And that's what leadership is.
What about you, Mike? We'll finish up on that note too.
Oh, I'm obviously, well, I don't know if it's obvious, but I'm very much an optimist. It's the Johnny Appleseed theory. It's you not only go down and you plant little seeds of hope, but every place a seed of hope is planted, that springs up people who will go plant seeds of hope. I think we have a struggle. I think we have a huge struggle, and it'll be a frustrating one. But it's really, in my view, the struggle between those who want to live in fear and those who choose to live in love. And I think as embarrassing it is to use those words sometimes, and as sort of outre as it is, I think that's really what it's about. And I absolutely believe that love will triumph. I'm a cockeyed optimist in that sense. And I think that the idea that, frankly, I never went to college, so college for me has always been a kind of other world, and Harvard is sort of the peak of the other world. And to be able to sit here with a Harvard professor and students at Harvard and talk about these things is very exciting to me. It's the idea that the halls of academe are not closed to these notions, that people do respond here just the same as they respond in the trenches somewhere.
Yeah.
Gives me hope.
Yeah.
About here. You know, what we're all about is being recognized, I suppose, as worthwhile. And the notion of living up to one's potential is the implication of what's offered in our society. Unfortunately, society then offers that, suggests it, and then doesn't allow it. It sort of puts limits on people and gives contrary messages, and ultimately suggests that really what you want to do is get a lot of money. And if you get a lot of money and you're hollow, that's fine, according to our
It's even
society.
better.
Yeah. It doesn't bring all those social requirements along with it, yeah.
Well, in the world of Hollywood, I mean, there's a lot of people who get a lot of money and they're pretty hollow. I mean,
Oh,
Hollywood.
indeed. But that's not exclusively Hollywood. That's
No.
true in Washington as well.
Yeah,
And,
it's
in a number
true.
of
I guess
places.
it's true.
And
True all
maybe
over.
even in Cambridge.
Oh, God knows. Here too. Yeah. Okay. Against, not for the death penalty. I understand that. Against the death penalty for many years.
Yes, right.
And other issues with
Yeah.
Human Rights Watch and what have you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's really about the fundamental value and dignity of individual human beings. That's got to be at base what I recognize and what I demand of myself, and certainly expect of other people. And we live in a society, we find out, that doesn't exalt that fundamental value and dignity. And in fact, it demeans it. So what you do, if it seems to me, if you believe in certain basic principles, then you find a way to live in accord with them. And if that, as Mimi was suggesting, if that resonates with people, they come around and they say, what is it you're doing? How come what you're doing works and what we're doing doesn't? How come we've got, Ronald Reagan some years ago said everybody in America
Mike, what about yourself? Obviously, as a renowned actor and you've been involved in the in television and writing and production. And do you define yourself as an actor who's an activist, or are you an activist, or are you exercising leadership or just simple social responsibility? How do you define yourself?
I like the last part, social responsibility. Leadership, I'm not comfortable with the notion of leadership particularly.
Because?
Because it implies a couple of things that I think are fundamentally false. We have many examples of leadership in our society today, all of which are leading people in the wrong direction, in my view. So, little old Mike Farrell, coming up from a kid from a lower middle class family, just all I wanted to do was be a good boy and succeed, and the idea of leadership was one that one never took on because it was self-puffery. So, having said that, I've been extraordinarily lucky in my profession to have achieved a certain amount of success in a highly competitive business, and the result of that has been notoriety. Well, then you have a choice as to what you do with the notoriety. I can help tell people what cars to drive, or I can I can suggest through my behavior that certain sort of life pursuits are better than others, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that leading by example, if one leads, leading by example is really what it's about. I think that's what Mamie's talking about. The idea, it seems to me, that is most exciting and probably revolutionary in a way, is finding a way to demonstrate to people that one, there is reason to live up to one's potential, and two, that one's potential can't be defined by someone else.
Yeah.
That what one has to do is sort of reach, expand, explore, take some risks. And if, it's a little embarrassing, frankly, to be in this situation, to be identified as a leader or an activist or this or that. For me, I'm just trying to get by. But it seems to me there's a difference between getting by and getting by in a way that is fulfilling to me and also, thank you, has some impact on some people around me.
Yeah. The primary issues that you're attending to, addressing, working, are what? I know you've been involved with the death penalty, right?
Involved against the death.
Against